Hello guys, and welcome to Project Two-Face. Thank you so much to everyone who's been clicking the like button, subscribing, thumbs up, commenting. I really appreciate it. I only set up the channel literally yesterday, and I've already got 400 views on the first video, so thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Just a quick disclaimer, the following vehicle you're about to see, I did not construct it. I had nothing to do with the construction of the vehicle. Thing number two, the weight of the vehicle is completely wrong. I'm so sorry about that. The guy who weighed it for me on a weigh bridge, it weighed 380 kilos. It's going to be way more than that. It's going to be more like 400, maybe even 450 kilos, possibly even 500 kilos. But all I do know is it's incredibly light. It's got twin engines, four-wheel drive, and it's going to go like stink. So yeah, guys, I really hope you enjoy this video. And yeah, let's do it. There are only 4 appropriate reactions to this car: laughter, bewilderment, anger and curiosity. So let's start with the jolliest of the emotions, laughter. And this car was actually constructed for a circus but never used. It was built as a push-me-pull-you car for a circus involving some sort of clown skit, but it was tucked away in a barn and never got used. Bewilderment. Considering this is probably the only push-pull Mini in England, or perhaps indeed anywhere in the world, this is essentially 2 different vehicles, i.e. 2 different fronts off 2 different Minis, that have been cut off, repositioned and welded, admittedly very well back to back, to create Two-Face, this incredibly unique little Mini. So this particular vehicle has 2 front subframes, 2 engines, 2 gearboxes, 2 sets of front suspension, 2 sets of front braking, 4-wheel drive, 4-wheel steering, and last but not least 2 straight pipes, making for a very bewildering vehicle. Anger. This is a very understandable emotion, considering that in front of me is one half of a John Cooper Mini. However, if we go to the other end, that is a better portrayal of how the Minis really were. So this end of the Mini is rougher and a better portrayal of how the 2 cars were like condition-wise before they joined forever. So, here's the story of this incredible vehicle. The guy who built it had these 2 Minis rotting away, and he decided to do something with them. On further investigation, he discovered that the middle section back of both Minis were totaled. So, he had an idea. He decided to position and weld the 2 Mini halves back to back together to create this thing, which he did drove around and used for a laugh for a little bit, and then, when he decided he wasn't going to do anything with it, parked it in a barn for 10 years, and here it is today. I had no part in the creation of this vehicle. 2 good Minis were not sacrificed, and for those of you who are interested, the Mini at the front end was not a John Cooper. They were both standard 1000cc 1980 Minis. They were nothing special, nothing interesting, nothing unique, just 2 Bogo standard Minis sitting in a field rotting away. So this car isn't such a big crime as you might think. Curiosity. Now you know a little bit about the car, you're probably thinking, what the hell am I going to do with it? Well, here's the plan. So, my first car I ever wanted was a classic Mini. It was actually a Mini Tahiti that had been stood behind 2 industrial wheelie bins in this garage for over 10 years. However, the guy wouldn't sell it to me, and my mother wouldn't let me have it because it was too small. She had a bad car crash in Canada in a Buick Riviera. The car span out and smashed up a bunch of times. And the guys who rescued them, the firefighters, said if they were in a smaller car they would have been killed. Hence why Mum doesn't like small cars. So, I got into larger vehicles. However, the dream was to always have a Mini, and the first Mini I ever saw was a Twinny Mini. So the idea was to get a normal Mini and put another engine in the back, like they did in the 60s, as you can see on screen now. However, the original car sold for over £50,000 a few years back, so that was way out of my price range. And when this thing turned up, I was a bit confused and fascinated at the same time, because I was looking at it and thinking, it's got 2 engines, it's got 4-wheel drive, and it's affordable. Why has no one else thought of this before me? Because no one else is crazy as me, is the correct answer. However, there is actually a genius in this car. Because it's 8 foot 2 inches long, weighs 480 kilos or half a ton, has 2 engines and 2 gearboxes, the power to rate ratio is going to be absolutely astonishing. So, what's the plan, I hear you ask? So, here's what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to turn this circus freak into a race car. Now, that statement is probably completely insane, but here's why. With its short wheelbase and incredible power to weight, it's going to handle quite well. And the engines I'm going to put in it are 2 1275 engines out of the Mini Cooper S, or the later Minis. They're going to be running HIF 44 carburetors, as you can see now on screen. They are going to be running stage-free road race heads, and they're going to be running a Kent camshaft. Now I hear you cry, that's not supercharged and turbocharged. Hold your horses, that's going to come later. So, the ideal plan with it is to have a turbocharger in the front of the car. I know it's got 2 fronts, but bear with me. The one that's going to be driving forward will have a turbocharger, and the one in the back will have a supercharger. This will essentially give instant power delivery, sort of like the Lancia Delta S4. So, while the rear engine is giving instant power, like half a second later or a second later, the turbo will spool up, and then the whole unit will come together and launch the car forwards. So it's going to have incredible power to weight ratio, even without turbocharging, but with turbocharging it's going to be absolutely astonishing. So, how am I going to make it handle? Well, it's very simple. I've bought these wheels, as you can see on screen now. These are 10-inch wide, 13-inch tall, Revolution split rims. And I've also bought the mega wide mini arches. This is going to make the car have incredible handling abilities, and it's going to stick to the road like glue. Glue? This is not Despicable Me. It's going to stick to the road like glue. Nailed it. So yeah, the car's going to be absolutely astonishing. It's going to be a really fun build, and I've estimated with turbocharging, with the turbocharging and supercharging setup, the car's going to make about 300 horsepower. So let's say 150 horsepower per engine. Ideally, I'd like to make it 180 horsepower per engine, but I want the thing to be reliable as well. Because if you go too far, you're not going to have a vehicle. You're going to have a vehicle that's going to make bags of power, but it's not going to last for very long. And that's what you need in a race car. You need it to be able to put the power down and last. And that's the very fine line between the two. But with the naturally aspirated setup, which is what you'll be seeing fairly soon, it's going to make around 100 horsepower. 60 horsepower each per engine. Just the stock 1275s. When I put different head and different cam, maybe 80 horsepower each. So hopefully in an ideal world I'll be making 200 horsepower, but realistic we're probably talking about 160 horsepower. However, with a car this light, it's going to absolutely fly. So, the 4-wheel steering, I hear you ask, is it going to stay? Absolutely not. Now, I could keep the 4-wheel steering, and I did consider it because it's going to give the car ridiculous manoeuvrability. As you can see from this clip on screen now, the car can literally crab sideways. However, at high speed with a serious amount of power, it's just going to want to swap ends all the time. So what I'm going to do is, on this end of the car, I'm going to remove the rack, remove this wheel, remove the column, and I'm going to get a solid bar and attach the 2 track rod ends either end, and I'm going to fix that bar in position. So this will be a fixed axle. I'll put the wheel towed in slightly so that when the power goes down, it's going to tow out a bit so that it will put the power down on this end. So this front end is going to be the only end that's going to have steering, and it's going to have, I don't know what's going to have yet, not power steering, it's not going to have a quick rack or anything like that, but it's going to put the power down quite nicely. And yes, I'll be changing that seat around. Aha, I hear you cry, but how are you going to drive it? As you can see, it's got 2 sets of throttle pedals. How are you going to connect those up? So, this is a conundrum I'm still working through. I have been doing a lot of research on the original Mini Cooper Twinny Mini, and I'm starting to get solutions, cables, linkages, and rods, that sort of thing. So both engines will be controlled together as one unit. And the beauty is, what I want to do is, I want to be able to start each engine individually. So, for example, mid-race, say an engine blows up, I can turn that off, disconnect one gearbox, and then I can carry on with one engine. How am I going to do that? Well, kind of like this. Here's the 2 gear levers for the Twinny Mini, and as you can see, both gearboxes are fully functional. So, how am I going to connect these 2 together and still have the facility to be able to disconnect one of them if I want to, whenever I want at will? This is the clever bit. So, there's going to be some sort of bar connecting here, and there's going to be some sort of quick release mechanism in the middle. So say I'm racing, you know, shifting through the gears, and bang, the rear engine blows up. So, press this little button, disconnect one of the rods, and then I can drive with the front engine, or vice versa, I can drive with the rear engine. But, I hear you cry, how are you going to make it have four gears in one direction? Because at the moment, the ends want to fight each other. Very good question. So at the front engine of the Mini, if it's actually always going to be travelling backwards, here's how I'm going to accomplish that. I'm going to take this engine out of the car, lift it out. I'm going to take the subframe and flip it round. Then I'm going to flip the engine, the gearbox and the radiator round. So that gears going this way, so first for the front gearbox will be first for this gearbox as well. First, second, third, fourth, and reverse, or reverse, either one. So they're going to be connected together that way, and that way this engine at the moment obviously wants to have 4 gears going towards me. But when I flip the engine and subframe around, and the gearbox of course, and the radiator, and reconnect everything the other way, it's going to want to go that way. Aha, you cry, I've got you now. There's no way it can do motorsport without a roof, and there's nowhere to put it. What are you going to do? Well, here's what I'm going to do. As you can see, there's about 5 inches of space either side on each end of the front valance, as you can see now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these stupid little windscreens off, get 2 full windscreen surrounds off a proper full-size Mini, and weld them right up close to this bonnet seam. I'm going to do that both ends, effectively giving me an extra 10 inches of room inside the car. Then the windscreens are going to come up here, and I'm going to fabricate a hard roof on top of here. Then, once that's done, I'm going to figure out how to do some sort of door mechanism. I'm probably going to have sort of a half door about here. I haven't quite worked that out yet, but I'm going to have a door about this sort of area. This bit is going to be completely cut out, because it's only fiberglass. So all this is going to be cut out. This middle section is going to be cut out. Just this panel is fiberglass, as you can see. This top section and down here is all steel. But I'm going to cut all this little zip. I'm going to cut all this fiberglass out, and then I'm going to make a little frame or a little post, and you can see here. And then I'm going to make some sort of door. It's going to be custom made, but I'm going to make it out of about 16 gauge steel, and I'm going to make it a sort of a boxy section. I'm going to might cannibalize a couple bits off normal Mini doors to make it work. But yeah. Once the door's constructed, we'll add some kind of roll cage. I haven't thought that bit out yet, but I have been planning it, and me and my motorsport mate are on it. So, that's essentially the gist of it. What I'm going to be doing with the bodywork of the car. As you can see, it's got twin side pipes down here, either side. I'm going to be changing that. I'm going to be putting a cherry bomb on here, because straight through, you know, there's a lot of arguments as to whether straight through actually gives more power, or the engine needs a bit of back pressure. On the Mini, I'm not really sure. So I'm going to be putting a bigger system. I'm going to be putting a 2-inch system on it with 4-into-1 manifold, all custom made by a friend of mine. That's going to come out the side here, and we're going to have a cherry bomb either side here. So the car's not ridiculously loud, but it'll sound quite nice, hopefully. So the final thing I'm going to run through is these engines. Now, you're probably wondering what the hell they are. So I believe this end is an A+ engine. I didn't know there was any difference. I don't know much about Minis, as I've already said, so this is going to be a complete learning experience for me. Apparently this is an A+ engine. I don't know if this one's an A+. Apparently the starter motor is different on the A+ unit. You can see. There we are. Down there. This engine end is pretty complete. It needs a brake master cylinder. It needs some fuel pipes. It needs a bolt in the thermostat here. Some radiator pipes, new spark plugs, new leads, a coil, bits and bobs, dizzy cap here. But what I'm going to do is, of course we're going to have fun with it before I start the real serious project. I'm going to get this end to run. I'm not going to get both ends to run, that's because that's a complete waste of money. I'm not going to spend money on 2 engines that aren't even going to stay in the car. And we're going to have some fun with it. We're going to do some crabbing, we're going to do some crazy turning, just do some crazy fun driving with the car, because it's going to be absolutely a right laugh before it gets into sort of serious terrain. But yeah, as of now, they're 2,000cc engines, completely bone stock, not modified at all. We have 2 HS2 carburetors on there. If anyone's going to be interested in these engines, please let me know. I'll put that sort of out there now. There's going to be a lot of parts going to be available. There's going to be these 2,000 engines are going to be available. We're going to have things like, you know, exhaust manifolds, rocker covers, all that sort of stuff, or I'll sell the 2 engines complete separately. I don't know yet, but there's going to be quite a lot of bits being sold because I'm not going to need them. Stuff like the exhaust manifold I'll keep, obviously. Bits and bobs. But yeah, the 2 engines will be coming up for sale. So if anyone needs 1,000cc engines in the future, please let me know, a pair of 1,000cc engines. Also, if anyone's got 2 matching steering wheels, please let me know. That look like this, the smaller diameter ones, because we need the space. Seat-wise, I'm going to be changing these seats. They're horrific. Now, I'm 6'3", And you're probably thinking, oh, he can't fit in there. Well, now I'm going to prove it. This wheel's a bit bigger, so what you've got to do is sort of stand on the seat, as you can see here. Then you've got to jump in, and then put your feet either end of here. Obviously, I'm going to be changing this. This column's going to come up, that's for sure. And I'm going to get in here and slide down, and well, hey, there we are. Now we're inside the Mini. You can see I actually have a bit of room, and I can move my feet. And these windscreens are utterly hopeless. I mean, they're just stupid on every level. I mean, if you weren't going to have them, you know, if they're not going to be functional, what's the point of them being there? Just sod it, just chop them off. That's the best way to do it. But I'll be cutting the top section off, and I'll probably use some of this bottom section, and I'll mate it to it. Maybe even make the windscreens a bit higher. I don't know. It's going to look weird anyway, but hey, it's a weird car. And as you can see here, if I turn around, you can see that these ones even have plastic in them. They look like submarine hatches. They look absolutely hideous. In terms of wiring, it's a complete mess. Luckily, my good mate's an electrician who's going to help me. So, no idea what the hell I'm going to need here. I'm putting dashes in it, obviously. In terms of position of fuel tanks, that sort of stuff, I'm pretty sure I'll put a fuel tank either down there somewhere, or perhaps, you know, behind the seat, or maybe even in the dash somewhere. I don't know yet, but if nowhere else, it will be behind the seat. I'm going to have a full safety fuel tank, a foam tank, so that, of course, if we do get hit, it's not going to go up in flames. Safety is very important to me, despite having a car that's a death trap. But it won't be a death trap for long. Yeah, I'm going to put a roll bar, sort of a roll bar, up and over the roof structure. We're going to have some bars here going down. It's going to be quite intricate, but it will have a proper roll cage in it, of course, before I even think of taking it motor racing. Even if it's not allowed to go racing, I've got a field, so it's going to be a good laugh. It's going to be, even if it doesn't go racing, it'll be a great show car and it'll be a great laugh. So yeah, that is essentially Project Two Face in a nutshell. I'm waiting for bits to arrive, which should be arriving fairly soon. I'm waiting for the wheels to arrive, my wide arches to arrive, grills, sort of bits and bobs to arrive. The next episode, we're going to be getting the car driving. We'll be getting this little lump working, which is going to be really fun. I've got all the bits, ancillaries, all sorts of things to arrive, and we'll get another person in that seat. We're going to do some crabbing driving and all sorts of funny things. So it's going to be a really good laugh. Now, I know a lot of you aren't going to like this car, and that's absolutely fine. I'm doing this for me, and if a few people find it enjoyable to watch, that's absolutely brilliant. But yeah, anyway, if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up, share this channel with your friends, and we're in the very early stages at the moment. But thank you so much to everyone who's been, you know, clicking subscribe, comment down below, thumbs up. I really appreciate it. I got a staggering 400 views on the first video, and you didn't even see the car. So yeah, it's going to be an absolutely fantastic journey and a fantastic build. So yeah, guys, I really hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.